Hey guys, today I'm doing my monthly top 5 video, and today I'm going to be going over my top 5 favorite, okay, they're not really my favorite, but I guess my top 5, or the top 5 book to movie adaptations, at least in my opinion. I can't say favorites because I don't like some of these adaptations, like, at all, but it's like the adaptations that I would have probably liked if they were done good, like the Percy Jackson series, is just... so I guess starting in at number 5 would be Twilight. I only have like a few problems with the relationship book-wise, but it's like the movie took the relationship in the book, and it was a really, you know, good adaptation, very loyal adaptation, but it may have just been the acting, I don't know, but the way that relationship plays out on screen is just cringy to me, and I absolutely hate it. But it's on this list because it actually is a very loyal adaptation to the books. Coming in at number 4 is Divergent. At least the first two. I have to reread the second one to know if that was a loyal adaptation, but I'm pretty sure it was. It was, I think, just the third one where they completely went into left field. But it's just like, Divergent was really good. It was not, you know, no adaptation is gonna be like word for what happened in the book, but it felt pretty close. It felt like everything important and like the little picks from the characters and everything, it's like all of that, it's not something you see very often in book to movie adaptations, or at least not around the time this one was made, where they actually were loyal to what was happening in the book. My third one on here is The Hunger Games. Now, some of you may think that this should be higher on the list, but I have kind of only watched the first movie, The Hunger Games, so that's the only one I'm actually adding to this list. If I had watched all of them, it probably would have been second, because I know The Hunger Games, the adaptation was very loyal to the work, and it was just a phenomenal movie. I absolutely loved it, and when I watched this movie was like right after my house burnt, so I read the books like within 2 days, or was it was 3 days, because the last book, Mockingjay, took me 2 days to read, and that was ridiculous. I didn't care for the third book at all. But I became like borderline obsessed with the series, and when the second movie came out, I just knew that I couldn't watch it right away or I would become obsessed, because when my house burned, it was like when the first movie had come out. I don't know if it was come out like, you know, it was still in theaters or it was on DVD. I just know I watched it at my brother's house, and I loved it so much, and it was something uplifting after the tragedy we just had. So I really do love that movie for a multitude of reasons, and the series, because the series is what got me back into reading. But I can only put this as third because I've only seen the first movie. Now, for number 2, I put the Maze Runner trilogy. I know there's been a lot of controversy about James Dashner of late for a lot of good reasons. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to let that sway my opinion. This is just based off the movie adaptations. They weren't very loyal to the work. I mean, if you guys have read the Maze Runner trilogy, you know that the first one is, except for a few tweaks they did like in the mechanics of what was happening in the maze and how they got out of the maze, really, it was a really loyal adaptation. The second one, not so much. There was some aspects of it that were pretty on the spot, but there was a lot that was just, it made a better movie, and I kind of wish that that's how the book played out. I mean, The Scorched Trials is like my least favorite book of the trilogy. Love the changes they made, but it wasn't a very loyal adaptation. So this series as a whole is where, even though I love the series, I can acknowledge that the adaptations were much better than the books. And it's not often that you get to say something like that. Saw The Death Cure when it came out. You guys have probably seen my Death Cure movie vlog by now, but I loved and hated that movie. because of a certain aspect of the book that I wish they had changed. And I know they were thinking about changing this part in the movie, and I wish they had. And it was actually drug out in the movie a lot longer than it was in the book. And that character had a lot more showtime than he had in the book, but that made you form a more emotional connection. And it made it so much better, but so much worse at the same time. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people could say that since the Maze Runner trilogy movies were better than the books, that it shouldn't really be counted as a good adaptation. But the basics of the book are still there. It's just they made everything run more smoothly, and they made all the action sequences and stuff, a lot more, I don't want to say flushed out, but if you think about some of the action sequences that play off in the book, sometimes they are so mainstream for a dystopian novel, which isn't bad. I really like that aspects of the book, but it's just, you can do so much with movies nowadays that you can't expect them to stick with something that is very basic. They kind of have to go with like flying vehicles and just these big explosions and viruses and everything else that's going on. I mean, you kind of expect the movies to go there nowadays. And if they don't, I mean, a lot of people have so many problems that really are not problems. Moving on to number one, of course, has to be Harry Potter. Now, I do have a lot of problems with the fourth movie, mainly because I felt like that movie should have been stretched out more and split into two movies like the Deathly Hallows were, and it would have just been so much better. As the fourth movie is, it is just so clustered, and just, it doesn't feel like any of the characters got developed as well as they could have been, or as well as they did in the book. And it's just like, with book to movie adaptations, you're not going to get every little detail from the books in the movie. But after the first three movies, and even after 5, 6, 7, and 8, you would, I don't know, in comparison, the fourth movie is just arguably the worst. And I know it's a lot of people's favorite book, so I think it just would have been better if they had split it into, and because the ending of the fourth movie I felt was really, really good. It's just like everything before that felt so rushed. As a collective adaptation, it was really well done, and I loved it. The third movie, still my favorite to this day. But it's just that fourth movie that, like, I don't know, it's like it could be 100%, but the fourth movie brings it down to like a 90%, because they really could have done more with it, and that may have been something out of their control. They may have had budgeting issues, or maybe certain people didn't want it split into two movies. I don't know how the film industry works. I just know with such a huge book, it would have been better split in two. But those are my top 5 favorites. Okay, not favorite. I can't say favorites. Those are what I consider the top 5 movie adaptations that I have seen up to this point. Like I said, I haven't seen Love, Simon. I haven't really seen the last 3 Hunger Games movies. There's 3 of them. I keep on thinking there's 2 just because there's 3 movies in all, or 3 books in all. If I was doing this as favorites, Twilight really wouldn't have been on this list, just because I don't like the relationship aspect. I didn't like the acting, but they were loyal adaptations. If I had seen Love, Simon, I think Love, Simon would be on this list, because I love that movie. People say the movie is so much better than the book, and I wouldn't even think that's possible, because I love those characters so much. And even though the Percy Jackson series is my favorite, that is a train wreck that happened twice, and it was unnecessary. And then, I didn't talk about the City of Bones movie, but really, is there any need to talk about the City of Bones movie? It's pretty much like the first season of Shadowhunters. It was butchered. I didn't watch past season 1 of Shadowhunters. I tried watching season 2, but I got behind on watching them, and then I have them recorded. I have season 2 and 3 recorded. It's just I haven't bothered with them, and truthfully, I don't plan to bother with them. Now, someday I may watch them, but at the moment, I don't want to deal with that. I would rather keep the Shadowhunter world in book form in my head. And when you're a book lover, You absolutely love when your favorite book is taken to the screen, whether it's in movie or TV format, and sometimes you wish they had just left the thing alone. And I truthfully believe that Percy Jackson and the Shadowhunters world are two of those. In all honesty, I kind of wish they'd left Twilight alone too, but Twilight was just too popular not to become a movie. I don't know. I'm glad The Host was made into a movie. I love The Host and I love the movie. I couldn't really put it on this list though, because I just felt like the 5 movie adaptations that I mentioned in this video were just done better. Yeah, you guys should let me know what your top 5, not necessarily favorite adaptations are, but what adaptations do you felt were done either loyally to the books or if they were done better than the books. But that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!